Welcome, leaders, teams, and those ready to take charge of their energy. It's Kelly Buboltz, your guide in workforce energy management. Burnout is not just a buzzword, it's a symptom of deeper root cause stressors. We're here to stop waiting for the change and start leading it. It's time to reclaim our energy and lead our days with intention and purpose. Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Workforce Energy Management webinar series, where we're going to be digging into drainers and energizers of the workforce every month. So previous to this, we dug into some of the team dynamics that are going on right now in the traditional versus modern day world. We dug into the workforce generations, and in this month's because we just finished up Stress Awareness Month in April, we're going to be focusing on burnout, specifically to employee burnout and the actions that we're doing that's feeding those drainers. Now, obviously, I talk a lot on workforce burnout, but I want to show you and talk through the five main topics that keep coming up in workforce energy management programs, in conference programs where people see me after and start talking about their employee burnout. The 5 topics that keep coming up and some things, practical actions that you can do to take and start moving the workforce from this survive back to thrive, because this world will keep changing and things will keep advancing and moving. How you set this up will create agile teams. How you set this up will keep your employees from burning out. So let's go through the 5, and I'm going to leave intentional time at the end to show you what little micro moments can do to shift this focus from adding more and not really gaining value. So the first one I want to talk about is lack of role clarity. So oftentimes in programs, I'll have a participant say, I don't even know what I'm supposed to be doing. And it doesn't mean that they're not working. It doesn't mean that they don't provide value to the company. It means that there's a mismatch in the requests that they're getting on a daily basis. So what I mean by that is everyone has a different expectation of what they should be doing. Everyone has an expectation of what that role should be performing. And so when there's this misalignment in leadership across departments, even within a department, it can be draining because this person thought I was doing this and this person thought I was doing that. And you start to lose the value of your actual role or what you were hired for, what your skill set is meant to do. So a great way to begin to shift this from a drainer to an energizer is begin asking the questions on that department level, asking the questions on the individual level. What do we do that brings value? What do we do that is just busy work? And what are we doing that seems like complete insanity? And you kind of laugh when I say that, but it's interesting when you pause and you give people a moment to really reflect on that, or you propose the question even before this meeting that people have a hard time asking that. Where's the value? And why I'm talking about this is lack of role clarity and where this value actually is in roles is because how can you measure a role? How can you measure performance if you don't know the value of it? If this person thinks the value is different than that, no one actually knows what success looks like, or they have a difference of opinions on what success looks like, misalignment. So I want to show you another tool. Besides asking the question, right? Micro moments, asking the question of what is busy work for us and what is value added work. And you can also ask that in a one-on-one setting. So it's a little bit more private conversation. But across teams, do you have alignment of who does what? So let me show you what a team responsibility map looks like. And this is an exercise that you can do within your organization. It's also a tool available in the Workforce Energy Toolkit on my website to automatically download. And you can redo the templates, but it gives you all the different templates of meetings, department value add questions, and then this team responsibility mapping. And what you're going to do is you're going to list all the tasks that you have in your operation. And you can do this at a small scale, like per department, and then you can expand it out from there. So say I take my department through this task list, and we list everything that we do in a month, in a year. You're not going to get down to emails, right? We're talking about the actual tasks. So maybe it's customer communication, because that could be emails, that could be face-to-face, all those things. So I want you to list the tasks within your operation, in your scope. And then I want you to list the different departments and the things that they might do to feed it or that you feed them. So these are your internal customers, finance, HR, sales, technical, production, safety, engineering. So I obviously used a manufacturing background, as most of my clients are in the manufacturing industry. And we start pegging who does what, who's involved in what. And what this really gives you is double duty work. It gives you that maybe a task that's always been assigned to another department is no longer aligned with where we want it to go. So a great example is like sales has shifted. So now customer service that may have been a little bit more inside function might be more outside function because they want those customer relationships. Technical may have been like a lab setting, and now they're actually on the floor and integrated with operations. So things have shifted over the years. And this is a great check to see, are the tasks in the right spot? Is there double duty work? When is the actual pass off happening? And this will bring a lot of clarity to not only aligning the tasks to the right place, but if there's any misalignment. So for example, if you look at this spreadsheet, operations has an insane amount of workload. They have, I think, only 6 or 7 spots that they are not involved in. And that means that besides the day-to-day hustle and keeping the machines running and leading their people and making sure processes are flowing right and working on quality and responding to customer issues, they have all these tasks to do every day to just keep things running. So if you want to look at bottlenecks, it's probably in operations based on this spreadsheet. So it really brings to light, backing up from individuals to departments on where things lie and where the misalignment might be happening. The other thing this brings to light is the conversation. So in this conversation, you're going to find out, I didn't know that department does that. Why are they doing that? Our department should be doing that. So you start cleaning up your operation, getting rid of these drainers naturally by just workflow, by addressing it in productivity optimization. This should go here. Two different departments don't need to be working on this. We don't need to rework it through 3 departments. And you start cleaning up these tasks. Now, this is a big project. So when I talk about micro moments, you want to maybe start on a department level, clean it up a little bit, then expand to another department. And then once you get through all the departments, look at all the departments together and see where the task and process flow is. So on a department level, this spreadsheet might not be finance, HR, sales, marketing. It might be the actual position roles within your department. And you're really breaking down who does what within your department. So this is team responsibility mapping. It cleans up a lot of your workflow, and it goes back to energizing the workforce versus draining it, because it is draining when there's double work. It's draining when you have ineffective pass-offs. It's draining when there's misalignment of who does what, and then you have pointing fingers and no one really owns something. So when you look at expectations, when you look at cleaning up your metrics that move the needle, you're going to have to clean up some of those team responsibilities and what is the value add task versus just the busy work. So that's number 1, is lack of clarity. Are you addressing that in your organization with the right tools? And I recommend the team responsibility mapping, which is inside the Workforce Energy Toolkit instant download on my website. The second one is poor communication. So Forbes research has actually stated that 50% of workers, 50%, that's half, have lower productivity and higher stress from ineffective communication. And what I mean there is, this person might say something, or the company might send a message out, or the supervisor said something. What's the impact of that communication and how is it being received? Because right now we're in a very micromanagement time because of all the change, and leadership and management wants a sense of control. So they're micromanaging every piece and every step, which who wants to come into work with that, right? They need guidance, they need parameters and information, but micromanaging things is causing the opposite effect of behaviors that you want. So this unclear direction is happening where you're kind of micromanaging, so no one understands the why behind it or where we're going because it's just being told to them. They're really not bought in. The other thing that's happening is inconsistent feedback. Because there's so much change, leaders aren't being trained enough, or you're not taking time to really hone down in your messaging during change management. that there's inconsistent feedback. So for example, I would be in leadership meetings with the management team and we would all agree on something. And we would have a plan and deadlines and like who's going to do what. It seemed clean. Then we would leave the room. And what would happen? Inconsistency. They would get in private rooms behind closed doors with comfortable relationships that they had and start doing the opposite thing. Inconsistent. So now they're sending a message opposite of what we align to in that room. So when you have unclear direction, when you have inconsistent feedback, you're feeding the wrong energy. You're feeding drama, and it's not going to lead to good results. You're also leaving people that are executing the work out of the conversation. So does that mean that every employee needs to be in every management meeting and every leadership decision? No. But the leaders showing up should have conversations before showing up, being the advocate and the voice for their departments. And so those important conversations and buy-in happen not only at the individual level, but at the department level, and then the leaders come together from there. So don't skip that step. I know things are moving really fast right now, but skipping these steps is feeding the burnout in your organization. You're dragging and pulling people along, which isn't the right energy that you want in your teams, because that's not sustainable. It's not innovative, and you're going to lose people along the way. This also is going to lead to rework. So say if I'm pulling people around and they really don't understand the scope of it, why we're doing it, they don't really understand the whole message, and you're not creating that safe space to ask questions, that they're going to start hiding things. They're going to start not doing the actual tasks because they don't know what they're supposed to be doing. And then you have to rework it. And in the manufacturing world, that's scrap, that's customer complaints, not a great place to be. So again, where is the waste in your organization? Is it on the front half where you're miscommunicating, or is it on the back half where you're miscommunicating and now you have bigger issues that you have very tangible waste tied to? So what we want to do is clean up the mediums of our communication. So here's the micro step to take. What mediums are you using? When? So you sometimes have like lunch orders come through the email. I get like 50 emails before noon that I actually have to address that need responding to. And we were a very busy 3-plant 24/7 operation. And then I worked in HR and wore many hats. So I had 50 actual immediate type of response emails. And then I had recruitment emails and applicant emails and everything else that I could probably push off till tomorrow, but also it's going to have some consequences, some effects in my other daily tasks. So lunch orders and like just quick FYI, but it really doesn't pertain to me. Those type of things start clogging up my email. I've also have clients that are out with customers or doing service work with customers. And they check their email after they're done with the customer, and it's just overloaded with emails that they don't need. Those could have been a chat. So do you see we're starting to clean up your medium where it's quick grab, you don't really need an immediate response from people. It could be in the chat message. You could have, if it's just certain departments, just include those certain departments. And then everyone else can just do an FYI during their next department meeting. Who do you actually need on these messages? The other support thing I want to talk about is your leaders. If you have not been training your leaders, times have changed. Times have changed in the workforce, process, and product. We have 5 generations in the workforce. We have headed into a very fast change environment. If you aren't training your leaders and guiding them into this future of work, they're getting lost and burnt out. And when people get stressed, and when they go in that survivorship mode, they'll start backing away from very challenging tasks because they're just trying to survive. So the challenging task that's happening in your organization is people. So they're going to hide away in process. They're going to hide away in product management and be in their office a little bit more when they should be out with their people. So training your leaders is really crucial right now because they're getting lost, they're getting lonely, and they're getting resentful. So if you wait too long in this, you're actually doing a lot of damage. And so that's 2 is poor communication. So we went through lack of role clarity. We went through poor communication. Now let's talk about workload imbalance. And I'm going to show you one of my favorite workforce energy management tools that we go through. And we work on this quite a bit in programs because it's a total different mindset than what we've been trained. Again, we're breaking traditional ways into the modern day workforce, leading the future of work. So this is flow state. And flow state is in between a challenge and your skill set. And this is the sweet spot. Have you ever worked on something and you are in the zone? Like time flies by, regardless of the chaos and difficulty of it, you're in it and you want to solve it or you want to make it better. And you're just like all in. And after it, you go home and you're still engaged. You still want to do things with your family. You still want to hang out with friends. You're still energized, even though you put out all this energy, all these mental calories, and you still feel good. This is flow state. This is in between challenge and your skill set. This is when the challenge isn't so extreme where like it's unobtainable, where you have this fear of failure where like, why try? I don't even want to do this anymore, right? You're getting this anxiety. And this not really challenging, mundane, repeat boredom. So it's okay to have both, right? Really challenging yourself. It's okay to have repeat tasks. But in this middle is the sweet spot. It's where time flies. You're all in, regardless of pay and benefits and the chaos. You're like in your zone. And this is flow state. So why I'm talking about this is when we get into workload imbalance, which is the topic I'm talking about right now, we keep talking about too much work, not enough time. We talk about not having enough resources, not enough people. We talk about not enough support behind us to do our initiatives. Those are things that have always been here, but they're really not the root cause of why it's causing burnout. Because when you're in your flow state, regardless of the lack of resources, lack of people, lack of money, lack of leadership behind you, you thrive. Because the challenge isn't too high and your skill set meets the match. You actually move into a thrive mode. So this is the sweet spot. And this is like, you can't be in it 24/7, but you can be in it every day. And you can get into deep work and be excited to come in for your work week. So this workload imbalance, I want to move the conversation, reframe the conversation away from too much work, not enough time, not enough resources. It's not being solved into what are we working on? And are you getting people in their flow state? So that sweet spot between not overwhelmed, but challenge and your skill set that can meet the match is where you want to get people. And having these one-on-one conversations about flow state, and we talk about this heavily in workforce energy management, is how to have that conversation, will get you to put people in the right seats. And you will find out that some people are in the wrong seats. And so they're just dragging on every day and you're really not getting productivity. So flow state is high energy. Flow state is high productivity. And it's sustainable and renewable. So this is the sweet spot that you want to get to when you talk about workload. So we're trying to fight a reality that like work is not going to be here tomorrow. If we just like power through, it will be here tomorrow. We're trying to fight reality that people won't back you up or you don't have enough resources. Stress has been here. Stress will always be. Finding this sweet spot where that challenge meets a skill set is key to how we drive forward in this changing world. So find your flow. The fourth one we're going to talk about is lack of autonomy. So we talked about lack of role clarity. We talked about poor communication. We talked about workload imbalance. And really what we're talking about is getting people back to their flow state. Fourth one is lack of autonomy. Now, this is where we get into the micromanagement, excessive approvals, where basically that's micromanagement again. No say in how work is being performed, how new software is being rolled out, how some of these changes in your organization are actually going to be acted on. Not having a voice there is an energy drainer. So I see some companies that are trying to go for 4-day work week, which I guide clients on. And they say things like, oh, it didn't work when we tried it 2 years ago. And I said, well, have you looked at it recently? And they're like, well, no, it didn't work 2 years ago. Well, 2 years ago, we were coming out of a pandemic. 2 years ago, we were still figuring out remote work. 2 years ago, there was daycares, there was other things. things have shifted. And like I said, it has shifted fast. So with these shifts, motivation has changed a little bit, and energy, and who wants to own what. Some people are even backing up from high level positions. So when you look at autonomy, what do they really want? Because, for example, I love autonomy. I love working for myself, but there's things that I don't want to do, and I want someone else to make a decision for me. There's some things that I would love to hire out. There's some things that I like to do and repeat, and I don't want all this flexibility and creative. So are you having the one-on-one conversations of what does autonomy look like to you? And you're going to see something really interesting come out, because I think people assume that people want leadership positions, they want more money, they want more benefits. And what you're going to see from this conversation is they want time to absorb. They want time to recover after a meeting and like be able to look at their email or figure out what just happened. They want time to create something new or be part of the innovation and change in their workforce. They want time that if something really tough happens, that again, they have space to recover from that instead of going from one thing to the next. So when you look at what human behaviors actually want in autonomy, yeah, it's flexibility and being able to kind of like plan their workday and prioritize. But then it's sometimes just the basics that they just need some more space to breathe, to figure out what's going on, to refocus on value add tasks. And a great example I have of this is I would go from meeting to meeting all day long. And sometimes I went from really tough meetings, or in HR, I had to separate an employee. And then the next thing I had to do was jump into an interview with a new hire that we really wanted. And I had to act excited, had to put out the energy of what our organization was. And so two different, very vibes, right? And I had jumped from one to the other, no recovery time. Now picture doing that all day long, up, down, up, down, up, down. Eventually you just get misaligned from your external and your internal self. It's draining. So when you look at a lack of autonomy, it's a great one-on-one question. You can also ask on a department level, on a more like department autonomy, like schedules and what you're working on. But really at the one-on-one level, what does autonomy look like for each individual? And again, you'll be shocked at some of the answers. And why I say this is very practical is you can give people time to recover after a meeting. You do more effective and productive meetings. You can give time for people to actually take a lunch. It's time blocking calendars. You can give flexibility to different schedules. You have to have the conversation of what is our value add work and how are we going to measure it? So do you see how just having a conversation of lack of autonomy to prevent burnout is actually providing productivity and more seamless pass-offs and effectiveness within your operation? So they go hand in hand because you're addressing the root causes of dysfunction within your operations. So that's lack of autonomy. The last thing I want to talk about there is, are you intentional about recovery? Which I promised at the beginning of this, I would be intentional about how I do this episode. So in the last 5 minutes of this episode, I always look towards 30-minute for this series, the Workforce Energy Management series. I do 30 minutes. I'm going to be intentional and give you 5 minutes at the end to absorb this material. What can I apply from what Kelly just taught me? Can I ask the questions? Can I really look at where our communication is and how we can clean that up? Can I look at how we can start the flow state conversations? Can I look at what autonomy do we actually give employees and the conversations that we're having to meet what they think autonomy is? So I'm going to be very intentional about ending this actually early. So number 5 then is team distress. So when we look at team distress, what goes into that? And that is also feeding not only burnout, but lack of future of work. Because if you have distress, you ain't going to be doing remote work very well. You can't get to 4-day work weeks. You can't do unlimited PTO because you don't trust people. It's the backbone of a lot of really great things that you can start moving forward. So lack of trust is happening between leaders, between teams in those department silos. And then within a team, they might agree in the room, but then again, they're not agreeing outside, gossiping and causing that drama. And people will hold back saying things, people will start to second guess one another or spend their time kind of like babysitting one another versus doing the value add work. So it starts to erode little parts of your operation, one little piece at a time. So how we're going to fix distrust is transparent communication. So certainly there's little things within the leadership team that you can't share. It would cause disruption, chaos, and it would cause fear because either not enough information is known or they don't have enough information to make a good decision on it. So I get that. But a majority of communication can be transparent. If I worked in accounting and we are hitting our busy season, I don't know why we can't be transparent to the rest of the organization that we're hitting our busy season. All requests in, please, by this date, because then we're focusing on month-end closing or year-end closing. This transparent communication is building this trust. Like, let's support one another in our busy seasons. Follow through. Do you say you're going to deliver something and never do? Do you do a lot of this and not a lot of action? Do you send a message and then you completely forget what you're supposed to be acted on? What is the follow through? That's huge for reliability and dependability, that you do what you say and say what you do. Again, I come from manufacturing. We were ISO certified, a quality certification, and that was huge in ISO. Say what you do what you say. And then, is it equitable? So that means, is there equal standards? It doesn't mean that it has to be this and this, right? Fair. It has to be this and this. It needs to be equitable because not every human situation department is the same. So say if this department needs to be in the office because they have to be in the plant or on the machines, or it's a customer service type role and it's in the service industry, what other flexibilities can you offer to them? Because you have some remote workers back here, right? That's maybe not fair, but we can make it equitable, which means we give some flexibility arrangements and options for these people that have to be in the office. So how can you make it more equitable? And then, do you have mutual goals? Because sometimes we're all focused in our little silos everywhere, and we're not focused on the ultimate goal at the end. And when you can focus on that, people become more collaborative and they actually become more innovative together of how they're going to get there next. Now, we're going to get into in the next webinar series, tough talks into healthy conflict. So some of these conversations may be uncomfortable. And I'm going to be talking in that session about how we can take those tough talks and make it into healthy conflict that moves us forward. So if you're not out on my website to get that meeting link or receive the replays right after, please go out to my website and make sure that we connect so that you can join the Workforce Energy Management series. Now, instead of picking up your phone and scrolling or moving to another video or pulling up your 3 screens of multitasking, I want you to take a couple minutes and think about, how are you feeding employee burnout in your organization? How are you energizing your employees away from burnout? Can you clean up your clarity? Can you have more clarity in your operations and your roles? Can you clean up your communication? Workload, are people in their flow state or know how to get there? Do you have autonomy at all in your organization, or at least discussing it on what it looks like for each individual? And then what's the trust level and how can you guide that to a more synergy and energetic level to get to collaboration? Workforce energy management isn't about doing more. It's about doing things intentionally a little different than you did before. Today's step matters. It's in the micro moments that real change begins. Managing your energy isn't about shame, blame, or disrupting your lifestyle. It's about the small, intentional choices to reclaim that natural energy. If this episode hit the mark for you, share with others. This journey doesn't have to be lost and lonely, but exciting and full of new paths. See you back here to continue the adventure.